Good evening, everyone. My name is Minjan from Momentum Learning. Tonight, we're going to have a seminar for LeedCode Bootcamp. The purpose for this camp is to help students, mainly college students, looking for an internship or a job after graduation in the high-tech field. LeedCode website, as many of you have been familiar or have tried this platform, it is the platform or the website that you need to go before you try to looking for internship or for a job. So this LeetCode.com website actually was built not too long ago, was built in 2005, actually 10 years earlier than Momentum Learning was founded. But of course, LeetCode has become so popular. It has attracted literally hundreds of thousands of people every year to the website. So this website has served two purposes. One is for interview preparation. And that's actually the reason for most people going there. But there's another reason, that is for coding competition. I'm not sure whether you have heard about it or have participated in the competition. So speaking of the competition, actually, at Momentum, we have done a lot of the training in Math Olympiad, Physics Olympiad, Computing Olympiad. Actually, we have been doing the training for USCO, USA Computing Olympiad, for the past 10 years. And we have been receiving the feedback from students that taking classes here earlier at Momentum before they went to college. And then later when they are in college, they also told us, well, what we have learned in the training classes actually helped a lot. And some say, okay, well, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was not very open to this idea, competitive programming, but now I think I like it. So I want to do more. Based on the feedback from many parents, many students, and we decided this winter, we're going to open a boot camp for LeetCode problem solving. The goals, actually, there are three pieces. One is to help students become familiar with programming, especially with common data structures and also algorithms. Some students, especially with major in computer science or computer engineering, should have been familiar with this, so they would have an advantage. But for some students, if their major was not computer science, but they still want to find a job, to find out internship in the high-tech companies, so they might want to also spend some time to get familiar. So this would be helpful, especially the common data structures and the associated algorithms would be very helpful for students to excel in the interview process. And of course, the direct goal would be to help students to solve the LeetCode style problems quickly, and also make sure the code is readable, not only to the author, i.e. yourself, or to the interviewer. In this case, would be the reader. So don't underestimate this part. This is the same like you write an essay. You can express your meaning, your idea, many different ways, but how do you make it a concise way to make it easy to read? That makes a difference. Okay. And the third one, but not least, actually, in our opinion, would be the most important part for this bootcamp is to help students to communicate effectively with the interviewer. Okay. For a lot of the CP, competitive programming, you are competing not against others, you're competing against yourself, or you're communicating with the computer. So as long as the computer understands you, you're fine. So even though your code is so terse, hard to understand, but computers can understand, that's fine. But in this process, actually, you need to communicate with the person, a human on the other side of the table. Sometimes maybe you have to explain your ideas. Sometimes you have to present your implementation. So it is very important to make it concise, to make it easy to follow. And from our experience, actually from our years of experience working with students in the STEM, math-oriented, physics, computer science-oriented. Many students are very good at solving problems, but hard or not so good at explaining them. So here, consistent to our training at Momentum Learning, we want to help students to be very good at expressing yourselves, not only in the computer code, rather in the natural language. Okay, this may change, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, you can communicate with human being and also with computer, right, in the same language, but so far it's different. You communicate with computers with the programming language. In this case, I'm going to say Java, Python, and C++. But if you communicate with the person, the human there, right, you cannot. You have to use English. So this is what we try to emphasize. So in class, actually, we're going to emphasize you're going to communicate a lot of interactions with your peers and also with me, assuming I'm the interviewer, I'm the person you need to explain the ideas, and I may ask questions. Sometimes maybe I'm correcting your mistakes. Sometimes maybe I'll give you a chance to spot my mistake. So this is what we try to present to the class. The format, we're going to make it hands-on. You're expected to write working code in class. Actually, about 30% of the time, you're going to writing code in class. The rest 70, that will include the lecturing and also the communication, the interaction. Okay, interactive, this would be very important, as I just mentioned, right? This is a weak spot, weak point for many students, especially students coming to Momentum Learning. Very fast, very advanced in logical reasoning, sometimes not so advanced in expressing yourselves. Actually, we got a lot of recommendation letters, requests saying, okay, how do you evaluate your students in terms of the writing skills, the presentation skills? So that's what we try to add this part to our students, because we don't write almost all the Momentum Learning, very fast, excellent students, but still many students are not good at the expressing yourselves. So in this interactive process, we're going to challenge you. Okay, maybe your idea, right? We think we understand, or maybe we think this is what you meant, right? Can you say it again in a different way, either in English or in Java or in C++ or Python? So you'll be challenged in this interactive process to improve your communication skills, right? We're going to do a lot of these practices, like the dry-run, the mock interview. And sometimes I'm going to play the role for the interviewer. Sometimes I'll give you some false information and see whether you can tell it apart from the true information. Or maybe the idea is not working, but I try to force you, say, can you think this way? And you have to be able to tell this is actually a trap. Okay, just to improve your skills when you are talking to the real person in the interview process. Languages allowed in the class, all three, Python, Java, and C++. Sometimes we're going to use one language for the answer, for the solution of the problem, but you should be able to understand, to read the code in the language, even though you don't normally write in this language. For example, right, you write in Python. But if I present the answer in Java, you should be able to understand it. Again, from our years of experience, language is actually not important. For computing Olympiad, competitive programming for LeetCode, right? The coding is not about the syntax, not about the language itself, rather it is about the data structures and also the algorithms. So as long as you cover the basic program flow, pretty much all the languages will work roughly the same way. All right, so all three languages would be allowed, but we strongly recommend, this is also from our observation, from our training experience, we strongly encourage you to become bilingual or sometimes trilingual. Some say, okay, I'm familiar, I'm comfortable with, say, Java, because I learned Java when I was young, or maybe I picked up Python when I first got into programming. Then I'll stick with it. It's not a bad idea if you want to stick with it so that you become familiar with the programming skills. That is very good. But as you get more and more exposed, it does help a lot to speak more than one language. This is the same as you say, okay, I know how to speak English, but it will help a lot if you can speak, say, Spanish, French, Chinese, Japanese, and so on. Well, maybe the human language is a little bit different, right? But here, we do believe if you can speak all three, that can help you a lot when you try to do the job interview. Maybe this job, right, will ask you to write, say, in Python, but you are more familiar with Java. But if you have the experience to say, okay, I can write in any of the three, then I'm pretty sure your chance would be higher to get a job. All right, okay. Topics covered in this bootcamp would be the same as our regular classes. So this bootcamp will spend, we're going to just cover 5 days. So it will be a intensive class. So 5 days, we cannot go through the topics all in detail, but we're going to try to cover as much as we can, depending on the pace of the class. So each time when we have the same curriculum, but the actual result may be different depending on who your peers are there in the class. So I think you understand this. So the basic topics, right? The arrays, strings, stacks, queues, sets, maps, trees, graphs. So all these are the common data structures. And we're going to use these ones and also make sure you are familiar with the algorithms. And you know the ins and outs, and you know the pros and cons. In computer science, we all know, right? There is no such thing, a data structure or an algorithm that only has advantages, no disadvantage. That's impossible. Just like in life, right? There's nothing for free. So you need to know the pros and cons for specific tasks. Which data structure would be the most appropriate? If there's no known data structure that can help me solve the current problem, what should I do? Even though this one is not as demanding or challenging like the say computing Olympiad at pre-college level, that's USCO, USA Computing Olympiad. At gold level, plat level, actually would be more challenged than the LeetCode questions. Okay, to be fair, many of you have had experience or had training at USCO, right? Bronze level, silver level, and before, between silver and gold, right? You may have the LeetCode problems, the difficult level. But now gold level, plat level should actually be higher than the LeetCode level. And also at college level, the SPC, of course, would be even more competitive, much more challenge than the LeetCode problems. So, but don't worry, here is the statistic, right? So every year before you went to college, right, you might have heard for USCO, every year about 150 to 200 students would be promoted to platinum nationwide. Okay, nationwide, 200 students. That's a much smaller number than all the big high-tech companies they would hire, right? Maybe not 200,000, but much bigger than the 200. So the questions you're going to see at LeetCode or during the interview process, it's guaranteed the questions would be much easier than those questions you think, well, I spent 2 days or maybe 2 weeks, still cannot solve them. Well, these would be much easier, let me guarantee you. Okay, so the common data structure you should be familiar, and we're going to have a lot of practices for those. That should be the foundation. You need to build a solid foundation before you can make it more complicated, more fancy to solve other hard problems or complicated processes. And we'll also cover some of these topics, the tricks. And here we'll try to make it all self-contained. That means if we do cover a topic, then you don't have to go outside of the class to find out other information. But of course, you can always find out other practice problems outside of the classroom. Actually, that should be strongly recommended or encouraged to solve more problems. Well, we're going to find out, right? Practice is the key. And you cannot emphasize enough practice, practice, and practice. So these are the common topics or the tricks, right? Searching, sorting. Probably this would be the first thing you have been introduced to algorithms. No matter for the LeetCode questions or for USCO or for SPC, right? Sorting and searching would be one of the first topics. Prefix sum and suffix sum, we're going to do a lot. Here, a little bit different. We're not going to do the maximum and the minimum. This has been for CP, that should be common. But here for the LeetCode, we assume the sum would be much more common than the maximum and minimum. Okay, if you're not so familiar with the concepts yet, don't worry, we're going to talk about them in class in details. And a big part for LeetCode coverage is dynamic programming. For a lot of the techniques that covered here, and also for covered in other computer science curriculum, many of them we can say they are routine. Why I use the routine? Routine actually is a name in computer science that is equivalent to functions. But sometimes we do like to use the word routine. Why? Because if you keep practice this idea, this concept, enough times, it becomes a routine. Okay, you know what to do. But dynamic programming is one topic we still think, right, it is an art. Okay, this is actually not only important here in LeetCode, it's even more important in high levels of CP. Okay, so if you have had training in dynamic programming from, say, USCO, from SPC, then you would find very comfortable at LeetCode. But if you have not, then this is a technique that you need to spend some effort. And we're going to also spend effort right in this camp. And you should be comfortable with the regular DP problems, but there is still some questions that will need more effort, more practice. Actually, for our DP class at USCO, Gold and Plat, we're going to spend about 1/3 of the effort on this topic, the most important topic for USCO and also SPC. The others actually would be kind of less important than these previous ones, but they're still common in the LeetCode problems. 2 pointers, sometimes referred to as double indexing. And this one can be extended to, say, triple pointers or triple indexing. Okay, very important technique, very frequent. Sliding window, actually, many of us, right, have heard about this one and fascinated by the idea. So you're going to find out one. This is also a very effective technique. Disjoint sets, grading algorithm, bit manipulation, simulation, and the last one, but again, not the least one, the math prime. For all the topics, all the math concepts, we're going to cover it in class to make it self-contained. But I need to make it clear. This is a computer science class or computer science interview. It's not math. I need to really emphasize for a lot of questions, if you think there is a math formula, there is a math proof behind it, maybe you should resist the temptation. If that's the case, actually many times it turned out to be a trap. So you're going to spend a lot of time trying to make it formal mathematical formulation or beautiful proof. No, don't go that way. You need to take advantage of the computing power. Why we take computers here? Because computers are fast, especially for repetitive work. So we need to let the computer to run as fast as it can. And then you just make sure, right, the math is correct. So in this camp and also for the computing Olympiad, math is important part, but don't overestimate the importance. And actually, before you become very comfortable with the math background, try to resist the temptation. But of course, when I try to teach the math Olympiad, then I'm going to take a different way, because in the math competition, you don't have a computer to help you to maybe check the the enumeration. I have so maybe 2,000 enumerations, right? I want to check whether the statement is true. If you do it manually, that's impossible to do it. But with the computer, you can run it. And actually, anytime, right, this will take no time. So different perspective, different philosophy, and the different contexts. Okay, this one is very important. Since many of our students have a very strong math background. So in this computing Olympiad or for the LeetCode problem-solving process, use computer science first, and then to improve the algorithm to make a formal proof, then you can use your math knowledge. Okay, so you're going to have a lot of the chances for this one. From our experience, this is actually a sometimes could be a very unfortunate point to many students with strong math background. Say, okay, spend 2 hours in that question, try to find out the formula. When I realized, okay, time has, time flies. And before I realized, right, 30 minutes have passed or 1 hour has passed. So please keep that in mind. Okay, and then several examples here. 3 examples actually to be precise: easy, medium, and hard. For those, right, if you have not worked on the questions, just listen to me. And for those that have done these questions, right, okay, maybe you can also listen to me and see maybe there is a new perspective. So typically the questions will be short rather than the the LeetCode style, or for other CP style, you may have to read a story and try to reformulate the problem in a mathematical way. But in LeetCode, almost all the time you have the mathematical formulation, so that's normally shorter and easier. So given 2 arrays of integers a and b, have been sorted already. Now we're going to merge them into one array. Assume array B has length n, array A has length m plus n, but the true length is m. The last n spots in this array A, they were empty at the beginning. So only the first m spots have values initially, and with n values empty, so that if you merge the numbers from B to A, right, that's exactly m plus n numbers. So assume m and n are all less than 100,000. This is 1 times 10 to the power 5. So typically that's the range for the input size. Why this is the magical number? Well, try to avoid writing a loop with 2 layers or more. If you write 1 layer, that's roughly n iterations. If you write 2 layers, most of the time it will be n squared iterations. Okay, why n squared is bad? Well, there's a threshold. If the total number of operations, if it is less than 10⁹, okay, this is a threshold, not a concrete number. Sometimes the threshold may be higher, sometimes may be smaller. Okay, in general, if your total number of operations, if it's less than 10⁹, you would pass the question. That means you can finish your calculation within the time limit. Okay, so if n is 10.5, if you do n operations, then 10.5, that's okay, less than 10.9. But if you do n squared, 10.5 squared, then this will be 10.10. That's 10 times of this 10.9, a billion, right? So that will run out of time. Or sometimes say 1/2 of this n squared. Well, that's still 5 billion. That's still bigger than the threshold. So most of the time when you see the number, the input size goes to 10.5 or maybe even half of 10.5, 500,000, I mean 50,000, right? Still, if you do the square, that's still bigger than 1 billion. All right, so try to write a loop that has only one layer to merge the two arrays into one array and make sure they're still sorted. And here, do not use a third array. So you can see, right? I can do an easy way because we all know, right, the merge process. So I have two arrays. This is A and this is B. Even, right, maybe here, this part, n of them, right, they're empty. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to merge the numbers here. They have been sorted in ascending order. These numbers have been sorted in ascending order. I try to merge them together. So there are m of them. There are n of them here. Okay. I know the typical 2-point technique, right? I'm going to start I here and j here. If ai less than bj, I'm going to copy this number to the third array, the temporary storage. If ai less than bj, I'm going to copy this down here. If bj is smaller, I'm going to copy bj here. So the number I have copied, I'm going to advance the index. So that's the typical, the 2-pointer technique or the double indexing. But here you cannot use the third array for storage. How do you do this one? Well, you can just make a small change using this idea. So this one is the 2-point idea, but you're going to make a small change. So rather than start I and j from the smaller side, okay, these spots have been empty, right? So I'm going to start I at the m plus n, or if you use zero index, so this one should be m plus n minus 1. That's 0. So start from this. Sorry, my I should start from here, m minus 1. I'm going to have another index k here, but j would start from n minus 1. So I index will start from m minus 1 down to 0. J, the index for B, will start from n minus 1 down to 0. And this k would be the final array after we have merged the two arrays. That's the index k goes from m plus n down to 0. The same idea, if ai bigger than bj, I'm going to copy the value ai to this location k. Otherwise, I'm going to copy the value bj to the last location. Once we have copied the number, we're going to decrease the k by 1. If I copy the value ai, I'm going to decrease I. If I copy the value bj to this location, then I'm going to decrease j. So still the same category. The 2 pointers, actually in this case, we're going to have 3 indices. So you can say 3 pointers or 3 indexing. So without using the third array, we can still merge the 2 arrays together and make sure the final result still would be sorted. So this is a simple problem or easy question at LeetCode, the library of the problems. Okay, I hope this illustrate, right? Many of you can understand this process and think, well, yeah, I can do this one. Well, as long as you have heard about this idea, right? 2 pointers or double indexing. This one is actually easy. All right. Okay. So let's take a look at another question that is medium. Okay. This time we have an array again, n integers. For each subarray of length k, find out the max value. All right. This time, k, the length of the subarray, should be no more than n, and n is no more than 10.5. When I say 10.5, that's 100,000. So I can do the brute force idea. What does it mean? I have this array size n, I'm going to go from 1 through n here. Every subarray of length k, so you have a subarray like this of length k. So the first one goes from 1 through k here. And then the second one, you're going to go from, oops, should be this one here. So it should go from 2 to k plus 1, and then slide, right? Every time you're going to slide this window to the right by 1 spot. So how many subarrays are we talking about? You go from 1 to, the last one should be, this is n and minus k, right? So should it be n minus k and plus 1? So this would be an subarray of length k. So you can start from 1, the first window, right? The first subarray starts from 1, the last one should go to n minus k plus 1. So you have so many windows, so many subarrays. For each one, if you want to find out the max value, that would take another loop to do it. So we're going to do n minus k plus 1 windows, and each one you're going to do k. So this one, if k is very small, this is okay. If k is very big, that's also okay. But if k is close to n of 2, then this would be n over 2, this would be n over 2. That's again n squared. We'll do by the 4 here. Still, that's too much. This will be bigger than the threshold of 10.9, and then it will run out of time. So brute force would be a starting point. How to make this one more efficient so that it can finish the calculation within the time limit? You're going to find out this is the case after the level for easier questions, medium and hard problems. You have to concentrate, or what your concern is, the efficiency of the execution of the code. How fast your computer can run. Even your computer, your program produces the right answer, but if it runs out of time, you still don't get the credit, or still considered to be failure. All right, so this one is a typical question for the monotonic queue. So we're going to explain this idea so that we can finish this question in big O n time. Okay, we're going to use the notation, the big O n. That is, the number of the iterations actually would be proportional to n. That is, you can find out a constant c. C does not depend on n. C could be 2, could be 3, could be 2.7, right? So constant c times n. This can be an upper bound of the number of iterations. So if n is 10.5, c is a constant, maybe 2, maybe 10, that's okay, right? Times n still less than 10.9, the threshold. But if you do n squared, then this will be too expensive. Whenever we say expensive, that will run too slow. Depends. If n is small, then this is okay. But if n is big, then you have to make it more efficient. So all the questions that have been designed, you cannot use the simple brute force ideas. That is, the efficiency of the code should be improved. So here, to be clear, right? When I say the efficiency of the code is not how fast you write the code. Some say, okay, it will take me 5 minutes to write the code. That's efficient for writing the code, but not the efficiency. We're talking about the execution. How fast your program can finish and then get the result. So to make sure your code, your solution is right? First, you have to produce the right answer. And the second, you have to make sure it can finish the execution within the time limit. So as I said, right, after the easy level, then you should pay attention to the efficiency of your code so that you can finish all the calculation within the time limit. We actually do not care about how long your code is. Some say, okay, my code only has 10 lines, so that is better than your code that has 20 lines. Actually, the code is not judged, the quality of the code is not judged by the length, how many lines. Actually, it's judged by first, right, can you finish the calculation and give the right answer? Second one, can you make it easy to follow? how effective you can make your listener, your customers, your colleagues, right? Or in this case, the interviewer understand what your idea is. Okay, so this is a medium level problem. And the next one I'm going to show is a hard question. Okay, maybe I say a few words here. Again, given an array A, okay, the questions, right, I picked here, easy to understand, to explain. Many times it would be an array list of n integers. Many times you see the questions have this one. Okay, here n has n, array A has n distinct integers. And all of them are in the range from 0 through a billion. That's 10,9. N is at the most 10,5. Again, 100,000. Find out the number of the pairs I and j, I less than j, but ai is bigger than aj. Actually, there's a name for this problem. It's called inversion pairs. That is, right, the index I is less than index j, but ai is bigger than aj. That means this array A is not sorted yet. Because if the array is sorted, right, the index I should, the location I, right, should have a value that should be less than the value at position j. If this array A has been sorted, then the small index should correspond to a value that is also smaller. So this is I here, this is j. The value here should be less than the value here. So if array A is not sorted, then we may have these pairs, I less than j, but ai is bigger than aj. Now we're going to find out, giving you an array A here, find out the number of such pairs. Again, you can try brute force. I'm going to try all the possible pairs. So this is, you're going to pick 2 out of m, right? I less than j, so pick 2 here. So that's n squared over 2 pairs. And you want to try each pair here. If the pair, right, satisfy the restriction, then you're going to increase count by 1. So at the end, when you're done the 2-layered loop, you should have the total count of the inversion pairs. But again, this will run out of time. So how do you make it running fast? Okay, this is, again, as I said, right, a typical question. We have a very good answer for this one. This is actually a small modification to the merge sort process, and you can find out the answer without any extra effort. So the same process as the merge sort, which we're going to cover in the camp. So that's a very smart idea. And as we always encourage students, when you finish a question, you pass all the test cases, get all the credit. Is that the end of the process? Actually, no. Think about it. If you change the question a little bit, can your program still solve the problem? So here, for example, right, the array A, why do we have to say the numbers are distinct? What if this array A has duplicates? If this array has duplicates, does my algorithm still work? Actually, it works. The idea I just mentioned, right, the merge sorting process actually still can solve this one. But you can try it. Mm-hmm. And then another way to say, right, well, we have the inversion pairs. What about inversion triples? So I have I less than j less than k, but ai is bigger than aj and bigger than ak. Can I still find out the number of such triples fast enough, or without running a loop of 2 layers or more? Because if I run 2 layers or more, right, I'm going to run out of time. Okay, these are the exercises I want you to try to challenge yourself. And also write down the notes, write down the code, organize the code, organize the notes after solving each question, and review your notes, review your code constantly. When I say constantly, not every day, right? Maybe after you solve a question and then come back a week later and then try to rethink. Can I still write the code within 5 minutes? Sometimes maybe the code is a little bit tedious, right? Can I do it in 10 minutes or 15 minutes? All right, okay. So I gave the idea of the training for CP, competitive programming. It's actually not only for LeetCode, for all others, right? ICPC, for LeetCode, for other CP online. There are a lot of them. LeetCode has the competition, the code forces, and also others. Okay, if you're interested, I can do that one. But for most people in this class, right, your goal is to improve your skills so that you can do well in the interview process. I understand. So to make yourself stand out in the process, right, you have to practice so that when you present, you know what you're talking about, or you know whether the person on the other side, right, they can follow you, or you can point out there is a logical flaw in their ideas. And also when they try to tell you, right, how to implement this way and that way, right, you can tell them, actually, if you go this way here, you're going to find out a mistake like this. You can end up with a bug like this. So if you have the experience, you can say with confidence. Otherwise, the other side, right, the person who interview you, they are experienced. They are also experienced programmers. They must have been, through the process. So you need to know what you're talking about. Okay, the momentum learning classes, if you open the website, momentumlearning.org, you have all these, the menus here, you can find out the curriculum. So that's easy to do. And this is, I want you to keep in mind. I know, right? In real estate, location, location, location. So here I want to borrow the same analogy. So practice, practice, and practice. And in the way of the process, practice, not just say repeating. Repeating is necessary, but not the simple repetition. Okay, we call this one reflective practice. You're going to solve each question from scratch, that's for sure, and organize the notes. I know, right? Many say, okay, this is computer science, math, right? I don't want to write notes. You do. Okay, for this question, right, I had the idea like this earlier, but it did not work. Eventually, I changed it to another idea, another approach. Okay, please write down. Or this approach, right, there is a caveat. When you try to implement, there is a problem there. I spent 2 hours debugging, and then this is the bug and how I resolved it. So write down the notes so that next time you see the same thing, right, you know how to avoid. Or you come to a similar situation, right? You can remember, okay, yeah, I think I did this one 2 months ago, and that was how I resolved the issue. So I can open the notes and see it. So I know many students would come to me and say, okay, Mr. Ming, I solved this question 2 months ago, or I saw a question maybe a month ago, but I forgot what I did. And you have to repeat the process to search around, Google around, and find out what went wrong and how to fix it. And I can tell, right, easily you can spend 30 minutes, 2 hours, or sometimes even longer. And that could be frustrating. I know, right, the debugging process, the frustration you have to go through, everybody has to go through the stage, but if you have done it before, don't waste the time. Okay, I know, right, everybody, the time is precious, invaluable. This is, okay, normally, right, my take-home message would be this one here. Today, the take-home message has another piece, 10% discount by 12/18. That is by Monday. The 10% discount still is valid. All right, okay, that's the thank you. And if you want to get any information from the class, you can reach our front desk. That's the phone number, that's email. And let me try to answer some questions. I did not. Okay, Avi told me to check this one here. Okay, I'm going to open. Oh, yeah, it's here. So that's the 10% discount by December 18th, 5% discount by December 25th. Okay, that's here. Let me thank you. Okay, actually, it's all Ivy's message. Anybody has any other question? I'll be happy to answer you here.
Okay, Dr. Zhang, this is Ivy. I have a question.
Mhm.
How, okay, this is very only 5 days, each day 3 hours. Included, you will have practice in the class and presenting in the class.
Yes.
With short amount of time, because usually LeetCode, most people will take at least 3 months, even doing the medium, even they are okay from the school of UC Berkeley, they don't have competition skill. But how can you use in your 5 days? They can do this kind of level. And what do you expect after 5 days, 3 hours, and how much extra hour they need to spend out of this class? And
Very
what do
good.
you expect? What expect for the because the student you how many students you will have? 20 students, 10 students? Because the reason is you talk about you want a student be make a present.
Right, presentation.
If
You're
you
right.
have 50 students, you cannot do it.
Well, actually, the presentation should be done in small group. So normally, we have the class size about 15 students. But if there are more, we're going to break them into breakout rooms because we're going to do this one in the Zoom setting up. So in each small group, maybe 3 to 5 students, right? They're going to present to each other and try to say, okay, Jack, I think I have a different idea. And maybe you can consider this one here. So we're going to do these small groups of discussion. And to the first part, I do understand this is a very intensive boot camp. So we cannot expect you learn everything in the 5-day camp. So even though you're going to spend 3 days in class for the week, right? Jan 2nd through Jan 6th, but you're expected to spend a lot of time after class, not only 3 hours, right? Actually, after the camp, the week-long camp, right? You're going to spend more time. But the idea for this camp is that I'm going to lead you to the way or get your food inside the door. Okay, this is different from the teaching classes to say middle school students and high school students. And for college students, you know what to do. And I think my role here is to help you to get started, to get this idea of how you can learn a concept and then how to make it become familiar with the structure, with the algorithm, and also this pattern, right? When I see this pattern, we're going to apply this trick. So my role is to get you started. You're going to spend far more time than you spend here. Well, if you still have any question, right, we're going to organize more camps in the spring semester and also maybe in the summer to help you get started. But get back to Ivy's question at the beginning, right? For students that have no experience at all, maybe this 5-day camp is not ideal because we're going to assume you know the basic program skills, the program flow, for example, right? You know the variables, you know the operations, you know the loops, you know the conditional statements, you know the arrays, array lists or vectors, right? This one. So the basic ideas, you know it. We're going to assume you have taken the introduction to computer programming, or you have learned some programming basics, right? Either say online or other places, but you still want to boost up your levels, your efficiency, so that you can have a good chance to do well in the interview process. Then this is the camp for you, right? I hope this is clear. Yay. Thank you. Jenny's question, target non-students. Well, actually, does not matter. A lot of students, right? Even they're non-student CS major, they can learn the basic programming skills by themselves. Actually, there are a lot of such videos, classes, right, online available, so they can learn it by themselves. As long as they know the basics, as I just mentioned, right? The loops, conditional statements, the arrays, array lists, vectors, right? Then they can start taking this camp. But of course, if they're not very experienced programmers, right, then they would spend a lot more time after this camp. But again, as college students, you're supposed to learn by yourselves. As long as you get started, right, put your foot inside the door, then that should be much easier. Many students, why they cannot do so well in the process is they did not know how to learn this in a systematic way. And there's, a voice or a guide to help them, okay, you should go this way here, to avoid a lot of the zigzag, the time wasted, or the energy wasted. That'll be too much for you. And most of you guys in this class, right, or going through the interview process, actually you will not end up to be an expert in algorithm development. For example, right, for Wall Street trading, actually most people implementing the ideas, actually they do not develop the ideas. Actually, many of them would just say, okay, maybe there's an idea developed or only the prototype, but you're going to implement to make it running fast. That's your job. But to get yourself into the company, right, you have to pass through the interview process. That's good. Yeah, that's what we are here to help you. So again, at Momentum, our job is to help you guys. So if we can be helpful to you guys, we feel so satisfied, so rewarding. And we've been doing this one for the past decade, and we feel very proud of our service, and actually we feel very happy. So every step you make progress for students, right? Apply for college and get the dream school, college, right? We're happy for them. And for you guys, right? For you to get a dream job, you're happy, and we're happy for you too. The video will be available at Momentum website. You can find it out. Very good. There are other questions. I'm going to stop here. And if I have any other question, right, as I said, for administrative questions, please ask the front desk. Will be very helpful for them to be answered there. For any technical questions, please let me know. And you can send the message to the front desk first, and they're going to forward the message to me. I'll be happy to answer them for you. All right. Thank you so much to attend this seminar, and I'm going to see you guys in the near future. Bye.